You probably think you are in complete control of your decisions. It feels like you are the one making rational, conscious choices, but how often are they guided by something you don't even notice? Imagine gears operating just beneath the surface of your awareness, quietly influencing every judgment you make. These are built-in features of your own brain, ancient software that can sometimes lead us astray. These mental mechanisms are acting as invisible puppeteers. Here are 10 cognitive mind traps, biases, and other phenomena that exist within your brain. They are mental shortcuts known as heuristics that allow us to make quick decisions. Being one of the few people that can notice when they arise in your mind is the first step to becoming a more thoughtful and rational thinker. Imagine a fox in a forest. He sees grapes, wants them badly, but can't reach. Exhausted, he gives up. They were sour anyway. This fable illustrates cognitive dissonance. The fox wants the grapes, but can't have them. His brain changes his belief. They're sour. We rewrite narratives to reduce mental friction. Rejected from a job, suddenly the commute seems terrible, the boss odd. Your brain protects you from failure. Cognitive dissonance operates under the radar as an automatic defense mechanism to maintain a stable self-image. When actions don't align with values, dissonance kicks in. Noticing that initial feeling of discomfort, a mental "uh-oh" moment, is the first step. Once noticed, you have a choice. Justify with a convenient belief or pause and examine the conflict objectively. Spotting this mental friction is a powerful tool to consciously choose your beliefs. Picture this. You're feeling confident, then you see a stain on your shirt. Instantly, your confidence evaporates. You're convinced everyone has noticed it. This is the spotlight effect. We overestimate how much people notice our mistakes. In reality, it's likely almost no one noticed. People are preoccupied with their own lives. They are the main character in their movie. Psychologists at Cornell University studied this bias. Students wearing embarrassing t-shirts overestimated how many people noticed. The reality is far more mundane. People are simply not that interested. The spotlight effect. We are the center of our own universe. Everyone else is living inside their own vivid, self-centered universe, too busy worrying about their own spotlight. This can lead to social anxiety and avoiding risks. So, how do you escape the spotlight? Awareness is the first step. Remind yourself, it's probably almost invisible to everyone else. People are less interested in you than you think, and that is a wonderfully liberating thought. Everyone is just trying to navigate their own lives. Imagine, is the percentage of African nations in the United Nations higher or lower than 65%? This is the anchoring effect. Our decisions are influenced by the first piece of information we receive. It subconsciously frames the entire problem. Psychologists demonstrated this by spinning a rigged wheel of fortune. The anchoring effect is actively used in the world around us. Understanding this tendency is the first crucial step to avoid being pulled off course. Anchoring affects everyday decisions, like sales tactics. Seeing a watch marked down from £1,000 to £400 makes it seem like a bargain. Negotiations also use anchoring. The first salary number offered sets the stage for all further discussion. Even irrelevant numbers can influence decisions. In a study, judges gave different sentences based on a random dice roll. To combat this, be aware. Question the initial number and do your own research to set a fair anchor. This helps you make informed decisions. Let's talk about first impressions. We're often told how important they are, but the reason why goes deeper than just good manners. It's because of something called the halo effect. This is our tendency to let one positive trait cast a positive halo over all our other judgments. If someone is physically attractive, we might also assume they are intelligent, kind, and successful. If a company has a sleek and well-designed logo, we might assume their products are high quality and their customer service is excellent. That single shining attribute creates a glow that can blind us to other, less positive qualities. This isn't just a simple assumption, it's a cognitive shortcut that our brains use. Creating a nuanced opinion takes time and mental energy. It's much easier to take one piece of information and extrapolate from there. If the first impression is good, we tend to interpret subsequent information in a positive light. If they make a slightly odd comment, we might think, oh, they have a quirky sense of humor. That halo is already working, polishing every subsequent interaction. Think about a job interview. A candidate who arrives well-dressed, speaks confidently, and has a firm handshake immediately creates a positive halo. The interviewer might then rate their answers more favorably. They might overlook a slight weakness in their experience, subconsciously reasoning that someone so polished must be competent. The initial positive trait, professional appearance, has colored the perception of their other traits. The halo effect gives them the benefit of the doubt before they've even earned it. The reverse is also true, and it's sometimes called the horn effect. A single negative trait can cast a dark shadow over everything else. If that same candidate arrived late, looking disheveled, the interviewer might perceive their good answers as weak or unconvincing. Their one negative action creates a negative filter through which everything else is judged more harshly. Understanding the halo effect is about recognizing that our brains create overarching narratives from single data points, and these narratives aren't always accurate representations of reality. The halo effect extends far beyond personal interactions. It's a dominant force in marketing and branding. Brands spend billions creating a halo around their products. Think of Apple. Their reputation for sleek design, innovation, and user-friendliness creates an incredibly powerful halo. When they release a new product, many consumers assume it will be of high quality before they've even seen it or read a review. That positive association with the brand name alone is enough to influence purchasing decisions. The halo from the iPhone shines on the Apple Watch, the AirPods, and everything else they sell, making each one seem more desirable. In education, this bias can have serious consequences. A teacher might perceive a well-behaved and attentive student as being more intelligent than they actually are. This student might receive higher grades on subjective assignments or get more positive feedback, creating a self-fulfilling prophecy. The initial halo of good student can lead to better educational outcomes, while a student who is perhaps more disruptive but equally intelligent might be unfairly judged by the horn effect. With their academic work being scrutinized more critically, it shows how our initial judgments can create very real-world advantages or disadvantages for people. So how do we get past this? How do we see the person or product for what it is, rather than just the glow of our first impression? The solution is to be more deliberate and analytical in our judgments. Instead of relying on a general feeling, try to evaluate specific independent traits one by one. If you're interviewing someone, break down your assessment into distinct categories: technical skills, communication, teamwork, experience. Judge each one on its own merits rather than letting a positive or negative feeling from one area bleed over into the others. It forces a more structured and objective approach. Ultimately, the goal is to slow down your thinking. The halo effect thrives on quick, intuitive, gut-feeling judgments. By consciously taking a moment to question your initial impression, you can start to dismantle the halo. Ask yourself, am I assuming this person is trustworthy just because they're well-spoken? Am I assuming this product is good just because the packaging is nice? By seeking out more information and looking for evidence that might contradict your first impression, you can form a more complete and accurate picture, one that isn't distorted by the glow of a single shiny attribute. Imagine a roulette wheel landing on red 10 times in a row. People bet big on black, believing it's due. This is the gambler's fallacy, the mistaken belief that past random events influence future ones. Roulette wheels have no memory. Each spin is independent. The odds are the same every time. Like a coin toss, previous results don't change the next flip's odds. Understanding this is key to overcoming the fallacy. The gambler's fallacy seeps into our daily lives. Consider a student who thinks a wrong answer is due after multiple failures. In finance, investors see a stock rising and believe it will continue, or vice versa. During World War I, soldiers thought a shell wouldn't hit the same crater twice, seeking false security. To avoid this, remember the independence of random events. For coin flips or lottery numbers, each event is a clean slate. Recognize the difference between connected and independent events to protect your decisions. I'm standing in front of 2 buckets of water. One is hot, one is cold. If I put my hand in the hot water first and then into this 3rd bucket of lukewarm water, it will feel cool. But if I put my hand in the cold water first and then into that same lukewarm bucket, it will feel warm. The water in the middle bucket hasn't changed its temperature at all. My perception of it has. This, in a very physical sense, is the contrast effect. It's a cognitive quirk where our perception of something is not based on its absolute objective value, but on what we've just been exposed to immediately beforehand. It's a fundamental part of how we evaluate the world, and it happens constantly, often without us ever noticing. This isn't just about temperature, it's about value, attractiveness, and quality. Imagine you're shopping for a new laptop. The first one you see is priced at £3,000. It's powerful, sleek, but far beyond your budget. The salesperson then shows you a second laptop for £1,500. Suddenly, this second option, which on any other day you might have considered quite expensive, seems like a reasonable, almost bargain-like proposition. The first, higher price has created a new baseline, a new context. Your brain isn't just evaluating the £1,500 laptop on its own merits. It's evaluating it in direct, immediate comparison to the £3,000 one, making it seem far more palatable than it otherwise would have. How do you defend against comparison? Awareness is the first step. Understand that your perception can be skewed by comparison. When making a significant decision, ask yourself, what am I comparing this to? Is that comparison fair or manufactured? Reset your perspective by looking at the item in isolation. Moving beyond this requires a conscious effort to judge a situation on its own merits. Do your own research and establish your own anchor. Take back control by setting your own context. We don't like being wrong, so we seek information that proves we are right. This is confirmation bias. Algorithms amplify this bias, feeding you more of the same and creating an echo chamber. Opposing viewpoints are filtered out. It's a defense mechanism. Confirmation bias leads to overconfidence and can create deep societal divisions. It has the power to polarize entire populations and stall progress. If our brains build comfortable echo chambers, how do we break out? It means actively seeking perspectives that challenge your beliefs. Deliberately read articles from publications you disagree with, or talk to people whose life experiences have led them to different conclusions. The goal isn't to change your mind, but to understand why intelligent people see the world differently. Play devil's advocate for your strongest beliefs. Construct the strongest argument against it and search for contradictory evidence. Ultimately, fighting confirmation bias is about embracing intellectual discomfort and valuing truth more than being right. Have you ever learned a new word, or perhaps decided you want to buy a specific model of car, and then suddenly you start seeing it everywhere? You hear the word in conversations, you see it in articles, and that exact make and model of car seems to be on every street corner. It feels like the universe is suddenly conspiring to show you this one thing, as if its frequency in the world has magically increased overnight. This strange and very common experience has a name: the Bader-Meinhof phenomenon, or more formally, the frequency illusion. And no, the world hasn't changed. You have. The phenomenon is a two-part cognitive trick. The first part is selective attention. When you first learn about something new and interesting, like a blue Audi A4, your brain subconsciously flags it as important. You've primed your mind to look for it. Before, those cars were always there, driving past you every day, but they were just part of the general background noise of traffic. They were irrelevant, so your brain simply filtered them out to save processing power. Now that it's relevant to you, your attentional filters have been recalibrated, and you actively notice every single one that passes. It's like turning on a specific search filter for reality. The frequency illusion isn't about things becoming more common. It's a shift in your awareness. Misinterpreting this can lead to flawed conclusions. Imagine investing in a company. The Bader-Meinhof phenomenon can create a false sense of momentum. When making important decisions, be skeptical of perceived coincidences. If something feels suddenly everywhere, ask for the data. The Bader-Meinhof phenomenon reveals how much our brains construct our reality. Next time you learn something new and see it everywhere, don't be surprised. It's just your brain finding patterns. Ever lie awake thinking about unfinished tasks? It's the Zeigarnik effect. Our brain remembers incomplete tasks more vividly. Psychologist Bluma Zeigarnik noticed cafe waiters remembered complex orders until they were paid, then forgot them. In experiments, people better recalled interrupted tasks. This creates mental tension, driving us to seek closure. It motivates us, but also causes stress from unfinished items nagging us. Our brains are haunted by unfinished tasks, causing anxiety. It's not just the workload, but the number of open loops your brain manages. Each unfinished task drains cognitive resources, hindering focus. But making a concrete plan to finish the task can relieve mental pressure. By writing down what, when, and how, you make a contract with yourself. Planning signals control, freeing mental space. This boosts productivity, like using to-do lists and calendars. Externalize commitments into a trusted system, telling your brain, "I've got this." This allows focus on the present. If stressed, write down every nagging task and the next action to move it forward. This reduces anxiety and gives clarity. We live in a world that celebrates choice. From cereals to streaming services and dating apps, modern life presents unprecedented choice. But as psychologist Barry Schwartz argues, there is a paradox of choice. Too many options can lead to paralysis and regret. With so many alternatives, we experience fear of missing out. Abundance escalates expectations, setting an impossibly high bar, leaving us less satisfied. The key is to recognize when more choice becomes a burden. Shift your mindset to being content with options that meet your criteria. Research shows satisficers are generally happier. Limit your options. Before shopping, decide on your budget and key features. Focus on what aligns with your core values and skills. Accept there is no single best choice. True freedom is having the wisdom to choose a path. Appreciate the good rather than pursuing the perfect. From the nagging pull of unfinished tasks to the paralyzing effect of too many options, our minds are constantly navigating a landscape of hidden biases and cognitive shortcuts. We've looked at the Zeigarnik effect, which keeps incomplete tasks buzzing in our minds, and the paradox of choice, which shows how more options can lead to less happiness. These are just two of the many thinking errors that quietly shape our perceptions, our feelings, and our decisions every single day. They are not bugs in our mental software, they are features developed over millennia of evolution to help us make sense of a complex world quickly. The problem is that these shortcuts, while often useful, are not always accurate. They can lead us astray in the modern world, making us overestimate how much people notice us, cling to initial information, or see patterns where none exist. The goal of this guide wasn't to give you a set of instructions to somehow fix your brain. That's not possible, and it's not even desirable. These mental models are an intrinsic part of what makes us human. They are the reason we can function without having to consciously analyze every single piece of data that bombards our senses every second. Instead, the goal is awareness. By learning to recognize these patterns in your own thinking, you gain a powerful new perspective. You can start to question your own assumptions. You can pause before making a snap judgment and ask, is the halo effect at play here? You can notice when you're only looking for evidence that supports your existing beliefs and consciously seek out an opposing view. You can understand that feeling of anxiety about your to-do list and know that simply making a plan can bring relief. This awareness doesn't stop the errors, but it gives you a choice about whether to follow them blindly. Remember, you can't turn off these thinking errors, but by becoming aware of them, you can start to make better, more rational decisions. If you found this guide helpful, consider subscribing for part 2 and more insights into how your mind works. It's a fascinating, complex, and sometimes frustrating machine, but learning how it operates is the first step towards using it more effectively. The journey to becoming a better thinker is a lifelong one, and it starts with simply paying attention to the way you think.